All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the intro to neurocomposition today. I'm very excited to teach this class because it's a very rich class. And today we're going to tap into a few little things from that class. Obviously, I won't be able to share everything you can learn in like the whole, I think it's like 8-9 hours, maybe 10 hours, depending how much we talk. But today, just for 1 hour, we're just going to do a drawing. I want to do a very quick intro to what neurocomposition is all about. We are talking about composing a drawing with the Neurographica practice, with the Neurographica style and the Neurographica algorithm. And why are we doing that? We do that to create an impression on ourselves. And in the neurocomposition course, you can really learn how to create a strong impression, because the stronger the impression from the picture, the more internal processes it's going to trigger, the more it's going to happen inside you, and the easier it's going to be to do whatever you want to do, change whatever you want to change, take the steps that you might want to take. I guess probably maybe I should ask, like, who of you is completely new to Neurographica? All the people that are here, if you can just type a little something in the chat, just so I know if we have completely new people. Otherwise, I would assume that most of you know Algorithm 1, have finished the basic user course, or at least like you have some idea. So what's the difference between Sue is completely new. Okay. Well, if you're completely new, then I would say just drag along. Just follow the flow. I'm going to go through the process step by step. So yeah, you just kind of try as best as you can. And really, you can't do anything wrong. And I'm going to point out the important little things that you might want to look at, pay attention to. So for all the people that know Algorithm 1, the basic user course, the basic algorithm, we create a picture in a very spontaneous, expressive way. In Algorithm 2, we do it in a very different way. In Algorithm 1, the picture basically comes out of our subconscious. No, we just kind of throw it onto the paper. In Algorithm 2, we construct a composition, and we use the shapes that we have several different shapes that we're going to work with, and I'm going to introduce those today. It's going to be a square or rectangular shapes, triangle or triangular shapes, and circles. Most people who have worked with me know circles really well, and today we're going to tap into those other shapes. Each shape can have a very specific function in a drawing. And with the neurocomposition course, we look at how we can use these shapes in intentional ways. So we look at an idea. No, we start with an idea. Neurographica always starts with a so-called theme or a topic. And then we bring this idea onto the paper using the shapes. And then we kind of feel into if this is right. No, that's like the first question we always ask ourselves once we've created a composition. Does this feel okay? Does this make sense to me? And we're going to really do this in real life, in practice in a moment, but I just wanted to introduce a little bit. And then we can also always ask ourselves what needs to change. And this is how we can evolve our ideas with the help of the composition. So our focus today will be actually trying out the shapes, the circle, square, and triangle. And we look at, actually, maybe we should do that right now. We look at an actual theme. So maybe there is an area in your life where you want to evolve somehow. Since we're working with the triangle and the square in a drawing, we will work on the one hand, structure and stability. So you can think of maybe what in my life needs more structure or needs kind of stability or needs maybe safety. And on the other hand, looking at the triangle, we look at direction. In a triangle, we have like an arrow that points us somewhere. So you can think of where in my life do I want to find more direction or like need some energy maybe to push me in that direction. So we're going to work on these two aspects. And that's the triangle and the square. And then the circles, we're going to throw them in for fun in between. So we look at different aspects of esteem. And then in the course, of course, there's more ways of using those. So I just kind of chose a very simple way, like really as an introduction to work with these figures, these shapes. So I want to invite you. I always like to start with a very short meditation, a little tuning in. So I like to invite you to sit comfortably, take a deep breath. Maybe there's something that needs to be released from the day. I had a pretty crazy day, so I'm going to take a few deep breaths. And just release. And just feeling yourself calm down. Just allowing whatever wants to be felt in this moment to be there. Checking in with your body. Maybe there are any sensations, something that wants to be seen right now or felt. And checking in with your emotions, with your heart. And just being wherever you are right now, being okay with it. And then also checking in with your mind, just watching for a moment your thoughts. Are they drifting away? Are they still in the past with something that happened today? Or can you bring them to this moment? And then I invite you to think of an aspect of your life where you would like more stability. What is it that in your life right now would really benefit from this energy of stability, sturdiness? And kind of feel that in your body. And then you can ask yourself which part of your life really needs some direction today. Where would you like to focus more, be more focused? And feeling that as well in your body, just seeing if there's any change. And then asking which part of your life right now would you like to bring into more harmony? And just feeling that for a moment. And then I invite you to take a few more deep breaths. And you can slowly start moving your body a little bit. Just feeling what feels comfortable right now. And then whenever you're ready, you can very slowly open your eyes again, maybe a little stretch. Okay, and with that, I'm going to switch my camera and we will tip into the drawing right away. And as I said, I have a few different pens today. In the Neurocomposition course, we also work with different qualities of lines, thickness and thinness and stuff like that. So I kind of thought we can play a little bit with that as well. Okay, and now the first thing that I would like to invite you to do is work with the rectangular shape or the square. And as we just did right now, thinking of the thing that you would like to have more stable in your life, and kind of feeling on your piece of paper, where would that be? Oh, anywhere in the paper is fine. And we're gonna draw a rectangular shape. It doesn't have to be a square, it can be a rectangle, and it doesn't have to be perfectly square in the picture. It can like look in any direction, so to say. And just feeling into it, I'm gonna draw my rectangle. And my rectangle, for some reason, sits kind of like a bench on the bottom. And I'm gonna go over this a few times. I'm starting with a fairly thin pen today, just to kind of feel into the shape. And really, as always, the most important part in Neurographica is the feeling, the reflection. What does the shape do right now? Oh, and of course, where do you use it in your life? Where in your life can you put this right now? How can it support you? And then in the next one, I'm going to go with the harmony one first, because I feel like after the square, I want to draw a circle first. So I feel into the area of my life that really needs some harmony right now. For me, this is my health, where I just got a cold, so I really need some harmony in my health, and I kind of want to place it here for some reason. And as always, you follow your feeling with this. Oh, it's a really eggy shape. So circles don't have to be perfect. I personally really like when they're kind of showing themselves as they are. And I just explore the circle for a little while. Let's see, okay, so there's this harmony. And it's connected to my stability. So harmony and stability kind of work together for me. I can already see that in my drawing. And now I can ask myself, what's the direction that I need to take? Where do I need direction? And I should have said that probably before. The size, the shape is very intuitive. Now we're working with our intuition right now. Later in the course, we're going to see how we can actually plan that better. But for this introductory session, I think it makes sense to really look at intuitive shapes. So now we place the triangle wherever you feel it needs to go, wherever it needs to point. You know, the triangle, as I said, has the pointy ends. And so my triangle points up there. And this one as well. I go over it several times and just feel into it. And I immediately have a body reaction to it. I'm like, ah, it goes over my harmony. And whenever you have a body reaction, it really makes sense to take a deep breath. Ooh. And then just feel into, okay, what do you have right now? You got these three shapes. Maybe they're connected. They don't have to be connected, of course. They can be anywhere in the space, but maybe they are connected. And maybe you can already ask yourself, what does it mean to you? How are they connected? Without really pushing for it, without really pushing your mind to come up with an answer, you can just place the question in the room, like, what does that mean to me? That my triangle has to come out of the stability, and my circle, my harmony is also connected with this base layer that I have here. And now, of course, as I said, we can change things. So if you have a shape that really didn't feel right, you now have the chance. The question with the triangle is where do you need direction? Where do you want to focus more in your life? Yeah, energy, focus, direction. Yeah, sorry, I read a question in between. So yeah, now we can ask ourselves, is this right? Do I want it like this? Or do I want it a little bit differently? And I almost like feel that I want to make this triangle a little bit smaller. So I'm gonna just go and make it a little bit smaller, again like this, and see how this feels when the triangle is not quite that big. And you see I'm not like drawing super clean today, and that's absolutely fine. We have like a long time after this where we can, so it's more or less the same direction, but it's not quite as pushy. The triangle always like pushes, so this one was a little bit too much, was like a little bit too far, where it was like feeling slightly uncomfortable. So now I feel more comfortable with it. And I'm actually going to use a little bit of thicker pen for my lines. Now we will draw neurographic lines. For everyone who knows the neurographic lines, just go ahead. What we want to do is draw field lines, meaning they start at one edge of the paper and they end at any other edge. For anyone who is not familiar with Neurographica, I'm going to very quickly demonstrate neurographic lines. So they are lines that you do not control. They do not have a strict direction, but they move with your hand. And you can try to let go of forcing your hand anywhere. Neurographic lines follow your inner flow. You can think of it like that, maybe. And they just meander through the drawing. One of the very important aspects of them is that they never look the same in any part, and they are surprising. They take you to where you did not expect to go. So we kind of want to let go of control a little bit. But really just observe yourself while you draw these lines, and also observe how it feels when the lines meet these figures. I'm going to go and just draw some lines. And they, of course, meet my figures. And here, this big triangle, by drawing the line out of the pointy end, I take the pointy end away, almost. So if you also want to soften your triangle, you can do that. If the triangle feels good to you, though, just let it be as it is. And then I also want to create a connection between these figures. So I draw a line that touches my square, my triangle, the overlapping, and the triangle that I kind of want to get rid of. I let it disappear a little bit with my lines. Breathing in between and just feeling into, okay, what's the interaction between these lines now and these figures that we are drawing. And maybe one more. As I am showing here, they can go in any direction, or they can start in the bottom, go to the top, start in the top, go to the bottom, or whatever. Or just go through the picture however they do. I don't really think about where they're going, so I just let them flow. And then when you have a few lines, I'd like to invite you to do some rounding, connecting the lines with these figures that you have. And then you can also, if you're using different pens, go into the figures and connect them a little bit more and draw them a little bit bigger, whatever feels right. And for everyone who's completely new to Neurographica, I'm going to show the rounding very briefly too. So when we have lines that cross, we usually have crossings, X's. what we mean by rounding is that these corners here, these 4 little corners that meet in the point there, we want to go around these corners or into these corners better and create a connection point instead. That means here we will go and connect the corners to the rest of the drawing. I like to then kind of draw out the line as well, and I like to also go into the spaces in between. So here I have another little figure, and I will just go and follow this little figure and connect it to these other lines. You can do this as good as you can right now. If you're a complete beginner, this might be challenging, but just play with it. It does not have to be perfect. In algorithm 1, it's very, very important to round everything. In algorithm 2, we don't actually have to do that. So we round where it feels important. So look at your picture and see where you feel that, oh yeah, definitely need to go there and round. I have like this spot here that looks just really interesting too. So I want to round it because I want to connect all these different lines. The rounding is really a way of connecting things together. And then here as well, I will actually follow the shape of my triangle again with my new pen to bring it out more, to have it stick out a little bit more. In algorithm 2, we work with emphasizing certain elements in the drawing. And one way we can do that is, of course, with lines, with the thickness of the line, the intensity of the line. And then I just connect to my figures so that I have the feeling that my shapes are not just floating in space by themselves, but they are part of a network. And this is the so-called neurographic pattern, is this network. One of the very special things about this method. And while you do the rounding, of course, you can also feel into yourself, see how this resonates, what happens in your body, what might happen in your mind or in your emotional space. And just relax into the drawing. And as I said, it doesn't have to be perfect and it doesn't have to be everywhere. Just look at where it kind of sticks out. Make my circle just a little bit rounder again. And most importantly, feel. I'm connecting the lines. Tricky here. And whenever you meet a place that feels difficult, pay attention. This is where things happen. This is where there's something important for you. We say that everything that happens during a drawing is important and is something to pay attention to. Now I'm really going to go into my small triangle here and connect that to my lines, making sure that it's not just floating in space, but that is really part of a whole. So that I can also feel that all these aspects, even though they're so different, one brings harmony, one brings stability, one brings direction and focus. They are all a part of my life. They all have space here. And maybe you have already, one might be bigger than the other, one might be more prominent. And you can ask yourself, how does that translate to your life? That is one aspect. Takes a bigger role, is more important. And then you can, of course, ask yourself, how do you feel about that? Is that good the way it is, or would you like to change something about it? And then if you want to change something, you can always do that. If I now realize, oh, this harmony circle actually kind of needs to be smaller, which I don't think it does, I could draw a smaller circle here and then feel into that. See, okay, what does it feel like now when this circle is smaller or when my square is bigger, for example? I almost feel like I want to make my harmony circle even bigger. I'm going to leave it as it is now because I feel that this is a pretty good harmony for me in the picture. Or whenever we work with many different figures, we want to see what the relationship is between them. And then, of course, always bring it back to our lives and see what relationships are in our life, in our everyday life, or in maybe a project or whatever theme you want to work with. There's many, many different ways to work with that. And here I'm going to not connect now to the back triangle because I want this one to kind of disappear a little bit because it was too big. So you can also intentionally do that. Bring things into the background by not interacting with them so much. Bringing out the things that you want to make more important. Okay. Now, I would like to add some more circles because my picture definitely needs more circles, and circles are great, especially when we work with other figures, for example, triangles, because triangles tend to have a very intense energy. I felt it right away. My triangle approach was a little bit much. So no matter what you feel, I now recommend to add some more circles, and we can add circles to support us. So you can ask yourself which of these areas of your life needs more support now. And I kind of feel this area actually needs a lot of support, my harmony. So I'm going to add a few circles here. I'm going to make them smaller. And just like place them wherever I feel they want to go. This one can also be at the edge. And we just imagine that the picture continues out here. And then I'm also going to integrate them so that they're connected to the other figures, rounding them. Whenever I add figures afterwards, I like to round them right away to make sure that they're in the web. And then I feel into it again and say, okay, do I need more support? Or what else do I need? We got these two little circles here. More support. And then, of course, I can also ask myself, what might this stand for? For me, this is support in harmonizing my life. I think food, now going back home after traveling food's always a crazy thing. So just coming back to eating in my own normal schedule and normal way will definitely bring harmony. And then this one here, I think, is going to stand for my exercises that I also didn't do all the time while I was traveling. And now that I speak this out, or that I give these circles this meaning, I already feel a little bit better about it. I'm like, oh, okay, good. I know how to come into harmony. So you can ask yourself when you draw circles, what are the things that can support you? What are the things that can support you in focusing, bringing your life in the direction where you want? What can support yourself in creating more stability for yourself? Just asking yourself these questions and then adding a few circles here and there, wherever they feel. It's really a free composition here. Here, this is going to be a big circle, apparently. Sometimes I start a circle and then it turns out to be much bigger than I anticipated. And this is also something where it's good to just let it be whatever it needs to be. This really feels pretty good. I have the line, I'm just going to connect it. And whenever there's a line sticking out somewhere, just connect it somewhere. Create this round effect again. And then I go in here and I ask myself, okay, how can I support my direction more? And for me, this circle symbolizes my plan I need to create so that I can be more focused. Whenever I ask myself questions like that, I literally immediately have some kind of answer in my head. And I ask myself a question, my head usually already knows the answer. And the trick is just to allow it to come out. So this can really help with that. And if you don't exactly know what your circles stand for, that's absolutely fine too. Maybe when you look at your picture in 2 days, then you might know. Also a possibility. This feels better. And also now I have my triangle edge, my pointy end in the circle. So working with triangles, this is what we sometimes do to soften them a little bit. Now, when I think like, oh, I wanted to go a little bit too far, I can make it smaller, or I can draw a circle around it and see, okay, it goes into the cushion so that I don't hurt myself with all my ambitious ideas. And then I want to bring one more circle into my area of stability, which is like my business needs some stability. And it will all come here. Really, my circle means trust. It's funny, like literally when I draw the circle and I ask myself the question, the answer comes. And this is training for everyone where it doesn't happen right away like that. Just draw Neurographica for 2 years, then you're absolutely going to be able to do that too. It's really just training the inner voice. I listen to this a lot. Well, I hear the inner voice really well. Okay. Now I feel okay with it. I can, of course, add more lines now if I want to, but I think I would like to go into a little bit of coloring too. Coloring this, just in between. My picture, as you see, is not very clean now, but it doesn't have to be. I can bring out the shapes again with color. So I have all my colored pencils, and I just pick the color that I feel most drawn to. Kind of want a green. This one. And then I ask myself, okay, which part of this has the green energy? And for me, this triangle definitely has some green in it. So I just go and color here. And I don't have to color the entire triangle. I can just start here. So literally when I color, I just find the starting point. And then I see where I end up with it. Many times I might go out of the shapes, kind of radiate out, especially when I start with a shape, radiating out, means kind of the energy of the shape is also in the surrounding. I can, of course, ask myself, what energy this green brings to me now? I really like it. Feels fresh. I feel kind of, really good with it. And then I'm gonna see where the green takes me. And I just allow it to move through my picture. And I'm doing this kind of roughly today. Very easy. Just allowing the green to move and feeling the feeling of green, the feeling of the color, allowing the color to expand. The only real rule that we have with colors is that we go over the lines. Usually we color several little segments together. But I really like to kind of flow through the picture, so we can imagine the color flowing through the picture. And see where it goes, how it's also interacting with the shapes again. And then whenever I think, okay, I might have enough green now, I can ask myself, what else does my picture need? Well, what's the next color that I feel drawn to? Oh, you can almost not see it, but a little bit more. For some reason my camera doesn't show the color really pretty now. It's actually really nice green. I'm going to post that picture at some point. A little chaos picture here. And color is really there to play with it. There is a color course where we go into color theory as well. Or better, we use the color in a more intentional way. But for now, we'll just go with whatever feels good. Whatever kind of wants to come out there. And the most important part, again, is to feel it. Okay. Now that feels good. Now I want a little bit yellow maybe. And really, I just pick whatever kind of comes in front. A little yellow here. And with colored pencils, you can, of course, merge the colors, mix them, overlap, and get really, really creative with that. And then, of course, you always have this moment when you meet shape, and you can decide if you want to, or you can just feel into if the shape just connects with the surrounding, just flows into the surrounding, or if it's a little bit more separate, if it needs to stay a certain shape. Or here, the square, I got these edges here that I really want to leave as edges. I need the edges, they feel good. Whereas the triangle was kind of like flowing into space. So you can feel into that. And really trusting your intuition, trusting where it takes you. Like here, my square also kind of flows a little bit out. But also, yeah, of course, when I think about it, it makes sense again. Everything that I do in my drawing can, of course, have something to do with my inner state, my predetermined ideas of all these different things in my drawing. So on the one edge, I have to create very clear boundaries, good stability, and on the other side where it's going into the harmony part, there it can flow. There I don't need quite these strict boundaries. It can like be a little bit more open. So there's ways, of course, to interpret your drawings. You will find out for yourself what things mean. A little bit more color. I really love the coloring part, one of my favorite parts that I can spend a lot of time with. And always feeling into the energy. Ooh. Choice is red, but it's almost a little bit much, so I just very lightly. I'm gonna switch to pink instead. It was vague, but the softness is better. So whenever you feel like, oh, this may be not the perfect choice, you can always try again. Change, choose something different. This is really what these drawings are about. We try out, we experiment, we see how things interact and what energies are involved, so that every single part of the drawing really has a function. Oh, nice. And I always check in with myself. Start drawing with the red, and then I realize, maybe not. A little bit more, maybe. Just so that it looks the same. So with the colors, you can connect in a different way. With flows of color. Maybe some pink up here. Or I go with blue. Feel like very colorful apparently today. Now I spent so much time with coloring. I hope you actually all followed my drawing. I know I did it for some reason a little bit quick. So if you still feel that you want to round more, then absolutely go and round more. I hope it made sense how we use these figures for now. It's really just a very, very, very brief example of how we can use them. And then we feel into it again. And see if the meaning changes. And with the color, really the energy can change so much. I almost feel like this is more an advertisement for the color course. wall. I hope you're still having fun with them. Now, a little bit more. We'll do maybe 5 minutes more. I really feel like coloring a lot today. Oh. Excuse me. Okay, I apologize. Now, this was probably the sign that it's enough coloring. Oh, I should have mentioned for everyone who's new to Neurographica, you don't have to color everything. So I'm not coloring my entire drawing. And you don't really have to fill in everything. So really, you just go wherever it needs to go. And if there's areas free or areas just partially colored, that's absolutely fine. Especially in algorithm 2, we're really starting to be free with these things. And experimenting, playing with them. Okay. Now, one thing that we can do as well is like my own customized coloring book. That's perfect. That's a really pretty description. Thank you, Numa. I really appreciate it. That is true. You can think of it like that. Now we can go back into the drawing and see which ones of our figures kind of went into the background with the coloring, which ones came out more. As I said, I realized here that I really needed those edges. Here, my square or my rectangle really needed to have the clear edge where like the inside and the outside is clearly different. There's like a border there. So I'm going to go ahead and go over this again. And I could actually do that with an even thicker pen. As I said, in algorithm 3, we work, and algorithm 2 in neurocomposition, we work with the thickness of the lines as well and how to use that. And one way is to bring some things out more. I always do that by intensifying the line. So here I have very clear edge, and I feel like this edge is good like that. I need this clear edge. And then also up here where my triangle goes into the circle, this is also an edge where I felt like it was good to have it clear like that. But it might not be everywhere. My circle here kind of merged more into the surrounding. I don't have it clearly defined as opposed to the triangle and the square. The square I feel is the most defined, and the triangle is pretty defined as well. But my circle is just floating in space, and that's absolutely fine too. I think it just tells me that this is something that happens in the background, whereas these two come to the foreground. And so I'm going to emphasize that in my drawing by making the figure, the shape, stronger. And then I make sure that wherever it was connected or meeting other figures or lines, it's more or less rounded as much as I needed. And I am leaving those corners edgy because I feel it's important for me to remind myself that I need boundaries in order to create stability. Like for me, it's important to have boundaries as well. These, for some reason, are kind of connected to me. And then also in order to follow a very specific direction, even though I already made it like a little bit softer by making it smaller, I still feel like, yeah, it's important for me to remind myself that there as well, I need clear boundaries. I need to kind of have clarity with that so we can emphasize those things. And it can, of course, be other shapes. It can also be that one circle. Here I have a circle in my lower part where I have the rectangular shape that's also kind of really coming out. I have it in light red. I almost feel like I want to bring this out more and even paint it in a stronger color. For now, I'm just going to give it a stronger outline as well. So here we can outline several elements a little bit stronger. And the other ones, we don't want to do that with all of them. And we want to pay attention to what actually comes out just in the drawing itself. With the color, especially with the color, as I said, this one kind of disappears to the background. These stick out in the foreground. Now we have one element in Neurographica that's one of my favorite elements. We call it field line. And I like to call it like an energy line. So now I'm going to show you one of my favorite other pens. I like these super fat pens. They are like brush pens. And I like to use them for my field lines. These lines, I understand them like an energy flow in the picture. And in a way, my triangle already shows me a direction here. So I'm kind of feeling like, of course, I'm going to follow this direction in some way. You can start this line wherever it feels like starting. Any edge is fine. And we go again from edge to edge. And in between, it may meet lines that are already there. And it's kind of just meandering through here somehow. You can draw several of those. In algorithm 2, we also learn to work with the direction of the picture more. So now I'm going to think, okay, this is like the first direction, is the direction that I feel pointed towards, just because my triangle points there. It's very obvious. But then I can ask myself, what's the other direction that I need? And I kind of feel that I want to focus on this like baseline, like the stability and grounding maybe down here. So you can see, okay, what is maybe there's another direction that you want to focus on. And it kind of meanders here. And really, I don't think about it a lot. I really feel like this is the line where I can feel guided. You can draw several of those. I would not draw too many. I kind of feel really good about these two. Maybe I'm going to do a third one that goes kind of here somewhere. I like when they're all more or less in one overall direction. No, they're kind of all going from left to right or from left to up. They have like a common direction. So it's also like a thing where you feel into it. Where do you need this energy to flow? the energy of the picture. Where does it need to flow? And then one thing that I absolutely like to do, and I recommend to everyone, is after you draw these lines, after you draw your flow, your direction in the picture, you go into the picture again and round, so that it really feels like these are rivers and they are connected to an entire river system. And now you can imagine that this energy that comes with them flows into the entire picture. And I like to give that really a little bit space and time as well. I kind of feel okay, just enjoying this flow. Very strong lines there. I'm just giving that a moment. Neurographica really is about giving it time, and it's always kind of weird to only have an hour for the drawing. But you're, of course, welcome to keep drawing on your drawing. You can always go back to coloring, go back to drawing more lines, go back to rounding some more, whatever you feel, really trust your intuition. I literally go back into my drawings after several days sometimes, and I just change a little something, or I add a little line somewhere, or change the color somehow. But really allow these drawings to stay with you for a little while. And everything feels nice and connected and in flow. And maybe if there was an area that was kind of feeling uncomfortable or stressful, maybe you can already feel a difference, hopefully. Or maybe you know what you need. Maybe you learned something. I'm gonna ask everyone that in a moment. See what changed. But first we're gonna go with the last step of the algorithm. Is now to really ask yourself, which of these aspects is the most important one right now? In a way, I feel for me it's the stability thing down here, but then also the direction comes in so strong. So here I can make a conscious decision and I can say, okay, next I will focus on this aspect. I like to, or better, it's really, really important and really, really good to focus on one. So I'm going to choose my triangle just because it's here in the middle and it looks really pretty and I like the green. And I think the direction is always really important, and I feel this is kind of good. This is stable. I don't have to focus all my energy on stability. I think stability is going to come. What I need to focus on more at this point today is my direction. So ask yourself which of these aspects, and they can also be the little circles that you added later, is the one that you need to focus on right now. Which is the one that is important for you right now. And to remind yourself of that, you will bring it out strong with a thick line. And I really draw an extra thick line here. Don't want my pointy end to be pointy though. And I bring out this triangle to where when I look at this picture, I will at first see the triangle. I will at first be reminded of, oh yeah, you got to focus. You got to check if you're still in the right direction. And then again, I will go and make sure that my triangle is still connected to everything else in a smooth, flowing way. I will leave the pointies though. I mean, I only have one pointy end. Actually, that's still pointy here. This triangle, I will leave this one too. If the triangle feels uncomfortable, you can also round the pointy end or connect or draw a line out of it. Like I did with the one in the back. I took the energy away by drawing the line out of the triangle point. But with this one here, I really want to leave it. So I'm also going to leave it inside here, a few edges. So other than the algorithm 1 pictures, in algorithm 2, really, we can choose what we round. It doesn't have to be everything and everywhere. Okay. So, excuse me. This for now is where I am with this picture. I feel pretty strong with it. In the algorithm course, we will learn several different ways of working with them and different ways of actually arranging the elements. In this drawing now, I just put the elements wherever I felt them. They had the size that they just felt like. In the course, we will talk about the difference between making small and big triangles, for example, and placing them in different areas in the picture. We'll also talk about the colors a little bit and many different ways of creating a composition. Many different ways of creating a composition that is good for different things. This composition now was basically good for showing me what are the areas in my life that need attention right now in a certain way, and which one is the one that I need to focus on right now. Which one is the one that sticks out the most out of all of this? So in a way, this was a check-in. In the algorithm course, we will also make drawings that have a little bit more specific use. Like, for example, we will draw processes, lines, how do you call this? Like routines, no? If we want to create a routine, for example, how can we portray that in a drawing? Or if we want to grow something in our life, how we can portray that in a drawing? If we want to take something away or let go of something, how we can draw that. So there's many different ways of using these. And of course, we're going to go very deep into each one of these shapes. So now I just basically brought an example. The triangle standing for direction, the triangle also stands for other things. The square standing for stability, it can of course also have many different other meanings. And the circle standing for harmony. And the circle, well, everybody knows the circle can literally stand for anything. But the circle is really something that I like to use as a support. And so we're going to work with that as well. Now maybe I would love to know if for you anything changed or which area was the most important for you. What did your drawing show you? Also going to come back. If you want to share something in the chat, that would be wonderful. I'm going to tell everyone out there who's watching the recording that the course that will happen after this drawing session, where we actually teach the neurocomposition, it starts April 7th, and I just realized that is the Friday before Easter, and I know that maybe that's not perfect for everyone, but I'm still gonna start with it then. There will be recordings, and for everyone who's watching the recording in the future, this course will also be available as a self-study course. So you don't have to be there at the live meetings. there is a prerequisite for the course. Maybe I should actually mention that. You need to have a certificate for the basic user course. That can be with me or with another teacher. I have the basic user course as a self-study course as well, and I give the certificate with an extra one-on-one meeting where I give you private feedback, because I think it's really valuable, and especially if you study it by yourself, then it makes sense for me to actually meet and to actually talk, and then you can ask personal questions. And this course, the Neurocomposition, will also come with a certificate, and that one is included, meaning that also a one-on-one feedback call is included. So when you do the course, you will get a calendar link and you will make a meeting with me, and then we talk about some of your drawings. Yeah, now let's see if there's some comments. Oh, there's a lot of tension in the stomach, and you let it go while you were drawing. That's wonderful. Whenever you feel tension drawing, rounding always helps. I always say round some more, add some more lines, round some more. And then also with the edges, whenever we work with the triangles and the squares, they have these pointy corners. As I said, there's ways to take the corners out, but sometimes it's very, very useful to, for example, when we have the triangle. The triangle represents, in this drawing, direction and focus. Something that where you want to find a more clear direction maybe, or you want to focus more in your life. The triangle has many other meanings as well, which we will discuss in the course, because it's a whole lot of things that we can do with it, with this energy of the triangle. And this is like one of the things that we will go into deep. And we're going to draw a lot of triangles. For me, this course really is a triangle course. It's because I had great troubles with that when I first started drawing Neurographica. I think for now I've talked enough. I'm going to stop this recording.